Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and I am here today to share with you what I read in the month of December 2024. I'm filming this right now on Saturday afternoon, January the 11th. And I thought, since I had a women's gathering this morning at our church, that after I got home, before I change clothes and get into some other project, now would be a great time to film a video. So even though I have several other videos that I could film today, including my Serious About Series list for 2025, what my goals are for 2025, and all of that, why not just go ahead and get December out of the way? And I'm thinking about maybe doing some kind of a wrap up for the year too. Even though I've already talked about my series, I haven't really talked about, how many books I read and all of that. I don't even know if y'all care about that. I don't know if you care about this, but if you saw my most recent video, which had to do with the series that I finished in 2023 and 2024, thank you. Thank you so much for watching that video. Now, as you can see, I haven't taken down any Christmas stuff. We still have Christmas stuff in our living room and everywhere. We haven't put any of it away, and I'm not apologizing for that because we had a little bit of company a few days ago. My daughter Katie had invited a friend that she met over the summer. Actually, they've worked together for the last 2 summers at National Student Leadership Conference. And her friend lives in another state, and she invited her to fly out and go to Disney World and all that, but before they have to start back to school, which is next week. So since we hadn't had any company and we had gotten our Christmas stuff out so late anyway, I said to my husband, who was about to start putting things away on this past Monday, I said, let's leave it out one more week because it's so nice and I just want to enjoy it a little longer. And if we're going to have company, then it's just cozier and everything. So so she has come and gone, and Katie even called back to, to thank us for, just making everything nice. And she's already gone back to her apartment in Tampa for school and everything. So anyway, then last night, it was Friday night, and I said to my husband, let's just have a chill night and enjoy our decorations. I've got a kitty here. You want to see Sweetie? She is our oldest kitty now. She's, goodness, 13 almost. Anyway, if you follow me on, if we're friends on Facebook, then you have seen Sweetie. She's in my profile picture sitting in a box of books, which she likes to do. She likes to sit in boxes of books. Anyway, so what we did last night was turn all the Christmas lights on, and we did something that we had not done this Christmas season, and we rarely ever do. We rarely ever take the time to just sit and enjoy the atmosphere. And I got out 3, in fact, I want to show you, hold on 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. So I pulled out 3 of my vintage Christmas albums. These were from my parents' home. I grew up with these, and I have other Christmas albums, but these are the 3 that we listen to. This red one has always been my favorite. These were put out by Columbia, and Goodyear would give them out with a purchase, or you could go there and purchase them. I don't know. Anyway, my parents used to collect them, and these are 3 of the ones I have. So we do have a record player, obviously, and I almost never use it. Thankfully, a few years ago, I took it in for servicing and got a new needle on it and everything. So it played beautifully, and we just sit and listened to these albums. I had my knitting, and we just enjoyed sitting in our living room with the atmosphere. We also have a train. Now, we actually have 2 different Disney trains, and Randy let Katie pick which one she wanted to put out this year. And so we still have the track going around the tree, and of course, it's after Christmas now, so there's no gifts under the tree or anything. But let me just show you a little video, because one of our cats was just fixated on the train, and we ran it for a few minutes. So let me show you this footage, and I'll be right back. One last weekend of Christmas ambiance. I got the train going, but cat is following the train. It's going to derail if he's on the track. Oh, he made it. What do you think, Harry? Wasn't that fun? So we ran the train for a little while, and Emily had already gone to bed, and I kept trying to, she was just laying down watching a movie, and I was like, don't you want to get up and see the train? But she didn't. Anyway, so we just enjoyed our evening, and so tonight, we're still not going to put everything away, probably until Monday. So tonight, we're going to do a similar thing, only instead of record albums, we are going to watch a DVD of The Waltons' Homecoming. If you don't know, The Waltons was a TV series back in the 70s about a family living in the Depression in the mountains, and this was the pilot. Now, the actors who played the mom and the dad are different, but the kids are all the same, and I have seen this before several times, but it's a Christmas movie, and so we are going to go ahead and watch this. And then I was telling my husband, I said, you know, I have the first 3 or 4 seasons of The Waltons on DVD. We should watch those. And he's a fan of The Waltons too. In fact, I have a Waltons Christmas CD with a lot of music and the cast singing Christmas music. And for the last many years, I have played that on Christmas morning and sometimes Thanksgiving morning when I'm cooking in the kitchen. So we are big Waltons fans, and we are going to watch this one tonight. So anyway, let me know if you have any other Christmas traditions. What we are doing this weekend is not necessarily a tradition, but I think I'd like to make it one. We're always so busy just with the hustle and bustle of trying to get ready for Christmas. And then, you know, it seems like we're always in a rush to get things taken down and put away. And I'm glad we didn't rush through that this year. So let me know what you like to do for Christmas. Do you keep your decorations up a while? Do you get them put away? And, or, you know, what do you do? Do you ever just enjoy sitting and just enjoying the atmosphere? Let me know. So now it is January the 11th, and I've got several library books that I need to return. So I thought I would share with you what I read during the month of December. I did read several Christmas books. I think like 12 books that had some kind of a Christmas theme. I participated in the Very Vintage Christmas Readathon hosted by Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes. I also participated in the Debbie December Readathon, which was unofficial this year. A few of us still read some Debbie Maycomber, and I'll share with you what I read. And altogether, I read 24 books. 12 of them were on audio, and 12 of them were in print. And of the 12 books that I read in print, a couple of them were children's picture books, and one of them was an adult picture book of Christmas illustrations, and that was so cool. In fact, you may have already seen that book because I received it for Christmas from Sonia, and I opened it during one of our Christmas book exchange videos. Let me just go through the list here real quick before I start showing you the individual books. I read 2 sci-fi books, but really it was 4 sci-fi books because one of them was a 3-in-1 book, so it was 3 stories in one book, but on Goodreads I just counted it as one book because that was the edition that I had. I read 5 nonfiction books. 2 of them were books that I had been reading all year. They were devotional books. And then 12 books that had a Christmas theme. I did complete 2 books for my 60 by 60 challenge, which now I'm already 60, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up at least 60 of those books before I count that challenge done. And then I read 3 other books that were crime fiction. Not especially cozy, but just, you know, mystery, whodunit kind of books. Now, a couple of the Christmas books were cozy mysteries, but I lumped those in with the Christmas theme books. And then 3 of the books that I finished in December were rereads. So let's just go through the books real quick, and please feel free to leave a comment below if you want to chat about any of these books. If you want to read any of these books, or if you've read any of these books, let's chat in the comments. Oh, but before I get to that, talking about Christmas decorations, a couple of people mentioned in my video before last about my copies of Redbird Christmas that I have back here. Now, I actually have several copies of A Redbird Christmas. Here's 3 right here. And there are 3 up here. I also have it on CD and maybe even on cassette. I'm not sure about that though. But this is actually a copy of Redbird Christmas. This is the back. Here is the book. This was part of a collection of Christmassy kind of classics that were released by a company called Vintage, and the back of each of these books kind of makes one big picture. So I found this one somewhere, and I would love to find the rest of them. Anyway, this is the only one I have, and I'm excited to have it because I collect all copies of A Redbird Christmas. But then just this year, I was able to get this UK edition from the bookstore where I work, and it is beautiful. I had never seen it before. They do a Facebook post every day of books that have come in recently that have been traded in, and I had been working over at the liquidation store, and I was getting in my car to go home, and I saw the post that had this in it, and I quickly drove down the street to our regular store, the Book Shelter, which is in Winter Haven, Florida. And I said, "Do you still have that Redbird Christmas?" And she said, "Yeah, it's right over there." So I was like, "Oh my goodness, I need that." Anyway, so yes, I collect A Redbird Christmas, and it's my favorite fiction book of all time. I just think it's a delightful book. And for those of you who are seasonal readers, please don't think you have to only read this at Christmas. It starts and ends at Christmas, but it has a whole year in between. So, that being said, I did not reread A Redbird Christmas this December. I thought about it, but I just had so much going on. So, let me show you what I have read. Now, I mentioned that one of my books was 3-in-1. The Lando Calrissian Adventures are Star Wars books, and I have this bind-up that has all 3 books in it. They are Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu, Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ossian, and Lando Calrissian and the Star Cave of Thonbaka. These were so enjoyable and so much fun. I really wish that they would make a movie or a show about Lando. I hope that's in the works at some point because he is such a great character, and these were really super fun. I really enjoyed all 3 of these. And then also I finally got around to reading Return of the Jedi, the little golden book of Return of the Jedi. I had intended to read this in the same month that I read the movie novelization and the junior movie novelization, and I just forgot to read this. So I was going to read it with Emily, and now that I'm saying that, I can't remember if I read it with her or not. I think I finally just gave up and read it on my own. But I do want to read some other kids' Star Wars books to her. I have several over here now in my collection, and I'll be doing more videos about Star Wars books and my Star Wars journey of reading in 2025. But now that I have finished this, I did complete my goal of reading all of the Star Wars books that were published in the 70s and 80s. So now I have started on the first book from the 90s, which is Heir to the Empire, and I'm a few chapters in, and it is great. So I'll be talking more about that later on. So let's do the nonfiction next, because I don't want to wait too long in the video to talk about Gladys Tabor. Now, this poor old copy of Still Meadows Sampler has definitely seen better days, but it was for sure readable, and I'm just thrilled to have it. This was so good. Now, this is the book that Sonia has been reading all year, and she did finish it in December because it's broken down into seasons. So she found this in the spring, and she read the first section, which was spring, and then as the seasons would roll over, she would go ahead and read the next section. And I went ahead and read some of her other books first. I bought this and a few other Gladys Tabor books on eBay in one lot. It was a bulk lot, and I decided since I had several that I would just go ahead and read them in series series order. Now, my library has, I think, 3 from the series, and thankfully, the ones that I didn't have, the library had, except for the very first one. So I've got my saved search on eBay for that, because when I first started searching for these, that very first Still Meadow book, which is called Harvest at Still Meadow, there was not a copy on eBay for less than $300. And so I didn't even bother, saving a search and getting the notifications if more came up, because I just figured it was going to be, out of my price range. Well, I just looked today, and a beautiful copy sold in the last 90 days for $30. I would have totally been all over that. But anyway, hopefully more will come up, and I'll be able to get that first book. But meanwhile, I went ahead and started with book 2, and I've been reading the series. This is book 6, I want to say, or 6 or 7, I don't know. Anyway, they're all delightful, absolutely wonderful, and I just want to throw this out here. I am planning to do a little small booktube event regarding Gladys Taber in mid-April. Now, I'm still going to have Amish in April, but Gladys Taber's birthday is in April, and I would love for all of you who are interested to find yourself at least one Gladys Taber book between now and April. You can go ahead and read it if you want. In fact, don't wait till April to read it. Go ahead and read it now, because I know you'll want to keep reading more. But I would love for all of you to have read at least one Gladys Taber book before Gladys Taber's birthday, because during that week, I am planning to do a series of videos, and I've got a couple of co-hosts too. You can probably guess who they may be. And we are going to do some fun things. So I am already preparing for that, and we'll probably have a live stream at the end of the week on Gladys's birthday. I can't remember now exactly what date it is now. You can look it up. But anyway, that is coming. So get yourself a Gladys Taber book. Any of them, it doesn't matter if I've read it or not, but we want to hear from you. We would love for you to chat in our live stream about any Gladys Taber book that you can get your hands on to read. So anyway, this is the one that I read in December. I actually started this one in November, and I had to lay it aside for some other things that had to get done in November, and I did pick it back up and finish it in December, and it was delightful. Then I had 2 devotional books that I've been reading all year. This one was the one that I read with my daughter, Emily. It's called Veggie Devos Day by Day. This was actually the 3rd time we had read this. And thankfully, during the year of 2024, at the bookstore where I work, we found 2 more VeggieTales devotional books, and one of them is just devotionals for girls, and then the other one is bedtime devotionals for girls. Well, we're not good at reading at bedtime. We usually do our devotional reading in the morning, so I only started the one that wasn't bedtime on January 1st, and we've been reading that one, and then I got the other one out, and I said, you know what, Emily, let's just read this too. And if we can remember to read it at night, fine, but otherwise we'll just read it in the morning. So we started it a few days late, and we've been reading 2 a day to catch up with that one. But anyway, this one, now that we've read it 3 times, we will probably pass this on to someone else. It's really hard to see because it's just an embossed cover. But, oh, there we go. Oh, there. Now, can you see that? Anyway, this was very, very good. This one was definitely written for very young children. The 2 that we're reading now are geared towards a little bit of an older child. Very good though. So I'm excited that we found those. And then the other devotional book that I've been reading all year is the Daniel Plan devotional, and I have just tabbed it up. I had to, put tabs on my favorites because I want to be able to go back and refer to these. And I did start a Daniel Plan group at our church, and we did not quite get through all the sessions, so we will pick back up with that at some point. And then maybe at some point, if anyone else wants to join in, we'll start over. There's a total of 6 sessions, and we just did, one every few weeks, and just, met back and, chatted about our progress and everything like that. I'm happy to say that I didn't gain any weight during the Christmas holidays. In fact, I even lost a pound, and I don't know how, because I didn't really follow any diet plan except to just, if I saw it, I ate it. But anyway, I'm going to get back on track with that. But this was a very good devotional book. It's 1 page per day, and they were not long to read. And as you can see, I had a lot of favorite days. So whenever we have our meetings, I try to remember to take this with me and then pick out one of my favorites to share at the end of the session. So anyway, this was very good. I'm not rereading it again this year, but I am going to hang on to it because I will reread it in the future. Then I also did a reread of the Daniel Plan book, and I finally got my own copy. I had been just reading a library copy and trading back and forth between two different library copies, because that's our county library system just had two copies. But in November, or right before my birthday, I found my own copy of this at a library sale. So I have a few important things marked, and I finished my reread of this, and I'm going to hang on to this because this has a bunch of the recipes that I like and things like that. But I did find a Daniel Plan cookbook at the same library sale, so I have that as well, and I'm excited to get back on track with my eating plan, because this is an eating plan that I can live with. It really is. Then another nonfiction book I listened to on audio in December, also for Debbie December, is a nonfiction book that Debbie wrote called God's Guest List, Welcoming Those Who Influence Our Lives. So I'm going to put this at our church library now that I'm done with it. This was very good, and it just talked a lot about her, just kind of her testimony and how God has brought people into her life for, different purposes and different reasons and different experiences. She also mentioned one thing that didn't really have to do with the title, but she talked about how, sometimes she gets feedback from readers, and she has had people comment about some of her earlier books that, mention that, how can you be a Christian and write this? And she says in this book that her walk as a Christian grew a lot through her writing life. She was writing before she was a Christian or a very strong Christian. She said, if there is sex outside of marriage that is written on the page, she also always make sure to show the consequences. And I think that's very respectable. So anyway, this was a nonfiction book that I very much enjoyed. It's not long. It's on audio. I think I listened to it on Everand. I don't think it's on Hoopla. But I thought it was great. And so I'm counting this for Debbie December. That was all the nonfiction, but while we're talking about Debbie December, I also did listen to on audio the third book in the Angels Everywhere series, and also the third book in the Angelic Intervention series. There's kind of two different sets of angel books, and if you look at one list, they're all included, and if you look at the other list, it's just the Surely Goodness and Mercy books. Anyway, this is book 3 in both of those lists. This is Touched by Angels. My only complaint with this is that there were not enough of the angels in this book. They were there, but there wasn't as much banter of the angels and as much interaction, I thought, of the angels with the characters. So it was a very enjoyable story. There were 3 different romance stories that I very much enjoyed. I would just like to have seen the angels a little bit more than they were shown in this book. And I'm kind of counting this for Debbie December, even though it's not Debbie Maycumber. It's Debbie Mason. This was my first Debbie Mason book. I buddy read this with Fiona from Reads and Eats. This is book 1 in the Harmony Harbor series. It's called Mistletoe Cottage. It was not super Christmassy. It was set around Christmas time, I believe, but actually I think it was set over a period of several months. But, Christmas figures into it, so, it's fine. We both really enjoyed this, and we have decided to go ahead and buddy read more of the series. I don't know how far we'll get. We haven't really made a plan yet, but I think we're starting in February with book 2, and I'm looking forward to it. This was a very enjoyable book. And so while I'm on the topic of Christmas books, I may as well go ahead and show you the rest of the Christmas books that I read in December. This is another one that Fiona had already read. I had suggested maybe buddy reading this one, but she had already read it, and she had said that she really enjoyed it, and I did as well. This was great. This is The Claus in Christmas by Rachel Bloom. This is book 1 in the Poppy Creek series. It's got a beautiful cover, and I just thought it was excellent, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of it. And this is another one that I'd heard great things about, and I finally got to it. Both of these books I listened to on audio. This next one is called Catching Christmas by Terry Blackstock. This one I listened to very quickly. It is a very short book, and I listened to it a little bit sped up. In fact, I listened to the entire thing while I was sitting up late one night unraveling my tangled yarn. If you have seen me on Tiffany's live stream, the Killing Time with Cozy's live stream, and what Sarah calls my yarn barf, you will know why it took me several hours and longer than one audiobook to get that untangled. In fact, I've still not untangled the entire thing, but I was able to get enough of a ball of each skein of yarn untangled enough that I could knit several more rows. Now I'm to the point where I have to untangle some more. So that's going to be one of my tasks tonight, probably while we watch The Homecoming, is to untangle some more yarn. Anyway, back to this book. This is a standalone book by Terry Blackstock, and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It is about a young woman who works in a law firm, and she is trying to just keep her job and yet take care of her grandmother, who is starting to get dementia. And she ends up, being really conflicted because one day she has to go to work, but she realizes that her grandmother has an appointment, but something has come up at work. So she calls a cab to come and pick up her grandmother and take her to her doctor appointment, but she's not able to get away from work to go and be there at the appointment. So this cab driver picks up this woman, and he's just like, he just wants to, do his job and go to the next job and all that. And he ends up having to take care of this woman all day long. And he's just over it. He's like, where are the people who are supposed to be taking care of this woman? And it is just so good. I just absolutely loved it. I highly recommend it. And it is on audio on Hoopla. And I just thought it was fantastic. So if you ever have a chance to read it, please do. In fact, don't wait till next Christmas. Read it now. It was delightful. I mentioned that I reread 3 books, and I've already shown you 2 of them. I mentioned that we read this for the 3rd time. And the other one that I had reread is the Daniel Plan book. But my 3rd reread was the very last book in the Christmas Hope series by Donna Van Leer. I had recommended this as our December read for my book club, and sadly, most of the book club did not enjoy it. I still absolutely love it. I rated this whole series, I think, 5 stars. There might have been a couple of 4 stars in there, but I love this entire series. There's a little bit of a mystery. There's a dual timeline in this one, and it is just, I think, delightful. One of the complaints that one of the ladies said was that it was just poorly written, and I don't know, maybe it is, but I just read for entertainment and for my emotional reaction. And I emotionally loved this whole series. So if you've never read any of them, you probably want to start with the first one, which is The Christmas Shoes. It's a tearjerker, but read them in order. Several characters come in and out, and there is a progression of characters. But you could read this one without having read the other stories. The main characters are new to the series, but some of the other characters who are from the earlier books do come in to play here in this book. But it's a delightful book. As far as I'm concerned, it's a wonderful story. So I hope that at some point you will read it. And then I read 2 cozy mysteries. One of them is A Sleigh Ride Together with You by Vicki Delaney. Now, this is actually not set at Christmas. I had just said, I think in one of the Killing Time with Cozy's live streams, that I wanted to have a year-round Christmas mystery story set, far from Christmas. And this one is set at Easter. But because the series title is The Year-Round Christmas Mysteries, I'm still counting it in with my Christmassy themed books. But this was good. Not my favorite. It was about our main character's best friend who bought a house with her fiance, and it was a rundown house that kind of had some superstitions surrounding it. Kind of, some people thought it was haunted, that kind of thing. So they go ahead and move into the house, and they're hearing noises, and then when her fiance gets home, he goes out in the backyard and finds a body. So, and try to prove that he's not the one that killed the person who was in his yard, and why was this person in his yard, that kind of thing. Anyway, it was enjoyable. Not my favorite of the series, but I was still glad to have one set at a little farther away from Christmas. Now, there are 2 or 3 that are set at Christmas. There's one set at Thanksgiving. There is one set in July for Christmas in July. And now there's one set at Easter. So yay. Then I also listened to the most recent of the Library Lovers mysteries called A Merry Little Murder Plot by Jen McKinley. I am now officially caught up again with the Library Lovers series, and I enjoyed this one. Again, the library had a guest author in residence who would come to the library every day and write, and she was a little bit unlikable, at least in the beginning. She kind of grows a little bit, as the series goes. Again, not my favorite, but I did enjoy it. And a book I did absolutely love. I read this for Mitzi's very vintage Christmas readathon. This is Miracle on 34th Street by Valentine Davies. This was the group read, and it was delightful. I had never even seen either of the movies. So after I read this, my husband and I watched the older movie, and I have only watched half of the newer movie with my daughter, and I'm just now, as I'm standing here saying this, I'm realizing that we forgot to go back and watch the rest of the movie. So I do need to finish watching the newer movie. But anyway, everything about this story is delightful, and I'm just kicking myself because I never read it or watched it earlier than this. So if you've ever watched the movie and never read the book, then I highly recommend picking up the book. This book falls in line more with the older movie. In the newer movie, they have changed more of the story a little bit and changed some of the names and things like that. But this story lines up almost perfectly with the original movie, which I think came out in 1947. I mentioned earlier that I read an adult picture book. I mostly looked at the pictures, but I did read the captions. This is a book of illustrations that Sonia sent me, and it was such a delightful book. I really enjoyed looking through these. I think what is believed to be the very first greeting card is shown in here, and there are even some Christmassy alphabets that you could use. And it says in here that you are allowed to copy these illustrations. That's the purpose of it. It says, when you bought the book, you bought the rights to use each illustration up to 10 times in one situation. So, of course, I didn't buy the book. It was gifted to me, but still, by, owning the book, you can use the pictures, which I think is really, really cool. So, I really enjoyed that. So, Sonia, if you're watching this, thank you. This was delightful. And then one of Mitzi's prompts, which I realize I haven't been telling you the prompts, so I'll go back through those in just a minute. But one of the prompts for Mitzi's readathon was the Nutcracker. So I just decided to order this from the library, Mary Englebright's Nutcracker. And I read this with Emily, and it was beautiful. So I went on then and I ordered a couple more Mary Englebright Christmas books. And I noticed that Storm from Storm Reads read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas with Mary Englebright illustrations, and so I ordered that one, and it still hasn't come yet. Somebody else has it checked out. But I ordered another one called Here Comes Santa Claus, I think, and it turned out to just be like a book of Christmas crafts and recipes. So I've already returned that one. I will probably still read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas when it arrives. And I'm excited, though, that I read this one, and I counted this for one of the prompts. And then the very last book I read on New Year's Eve is Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, I would have read this sooner, but it, again, was checked out by someone else from the library, and I had to wait, and it finally came right after Christmas, and I needed to just make sure I got all my other books finished. So after 9 p.m. on New Year's Eve, I sat down to read this. Now, it did take me past midnight to finish it, but, you know, as I like to say, it was still not midnight everywhere. It wasn't quite midnight in Hawaii yet by the time I finished this. So anyway, I'm still counting it for December. It was delightful. Now, I did not enjoy it as much as I hoped I would, mainly because I was too tired, and I definitely need to give this book another chance. It was really sweet, and it even has the the image of his actual handwriting, but it's a little hard to read, so they have the letters typed out so that you can read through it a little easier. But this was super sweet. If you don't know, these are letters that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote to his children around Christmas time, and he wrote them as Father Christmas. And he's invented a couple of fun characters. There's a polar bear who helps him, and I think at least one other little side character. But there are pictures, you know, illustrations that he drew, and it is really, really sweet. I was editing the video and I realized I left out 2 books. I think I already talked about both of these in my November wrap-up because I had started them in November, finished them in December, but it's 2 books for my 60 by 60 challenge. One of them is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, and the other one is The Ballroom on Magnolia Street by Sharon Owens. The last category I haven't shown you are the crime books that I read. Now, I did show you a couple of cozy mysteries that I have lumped in with my Christmas books, but I, of course, read another Reacher book in the month of December. I listened to it on audio. This is Personal by Lee Child. I have lost track of what number it is. I think it may be 19. I'm not sure. Anyway, very good. I very much enjoyed it. And then these books are both probably lumped into the cozy category, but not super cozy. This one, I think, is not considered cozy because it is a professional detective. This is Frozen Detective by Amanda Flower. This is book 2 in the Piper and Porter mystery series, and this is the second book in the series, and there's not any more after this. At this point, I hope there's going to be more because I really enjoyed the characters, and I like Piper and Porter. Those are their last names, by the way. Darby, Piper, and Tate Porter are the names, and they are both really fun. My buddy read both of these books with Donna from Studio in the Library, and we both really enjoyed them. So I hope that there will be more in this series. I really enjoy Amanda Flower's Amish books, and this was the first of her series that I've read that are not featuring Amish characters, and she did a really good job on these books. So Frozen Detective is the one that we read in December, and it is set at New Year's. So I guess I could have lumped it in with the holiday books, but anyway. Then I also read book 2 in the Moccasin Cove mystery series by Liz Boger. Now, Liz is a local author to me, and she gave me a copy of book 1, which I read a couple of months ago, and I purchased Applejack on ebook, and I read that during the month of December, and I very much enjoyed it. I really think I liked Applejack better than Chain Linked, but I would not have liked it as much if I hadn't read Chain Linked. So I'm not advocating that you read Applejack before Chain Linked, because Chain Linked really introduces you to the characters. In fact, she even has in here a list of characters. So a lot of these characters come back into play in Applejack, but I don't think there's a list of characters in Applejack. Also, another thing that's really cool is that in both books, each chapter heading is the date that it takes place on. So you see the timeline of the story as you go along, and I love that. I think that's great. So anyway, I really do like the characters in this series, and it has I think both books have either won some awards or been nominated for some awards, and I can see why. So this is definitely a book series that I would recommend. She did mention that there are more books planned for the series, so I'm excited to get to those as soon as they are available. So our main character is a elementary school principal, and you wouldn't believe what kind of shenanigans can happen in and around an elementary school. So they were very enjoyable. A little darker than your average cozy, I felt like, but I think there would still fall under the cozy category. But there are some, heavy topics. And I think that it was a very enjoyable read. And I hope that you will give Chain Linked a chance. So that is everything that I read. But before I leave, I want to just mention something that my husband just read. Now, every once in a blue moon, I like to talk about what my, the rest of my family is reading. And for most of 2024, my husband was reading through all of Clive Cussler, and I think he has just about read everything. He's a fast reader. He has a little bit of reading time at work, so he would take the books to work and read them. But I have mentioned that I was working in a liquidation store that was owned by the owners of the bookstore where I normally work. And so while I was working in the liquidation store, I ran across this book right here, and my husband is a car guy. So I grabbed this book. This is called The Last Convertible by Anton Myrer, and I brought it home, and I guess I kind of forgot that I had brought it home, because then I brought home a hardcover copy, and so then when I was sorting out all my books, I realized I had brought 2 copies. So I showed them to him, and I said, "Hey, I got you this book. I actually got you 2 of them. Which one would you like?" And he took the paperback. I'm probably going to, now that he's done with it, and he didn't need to keep it, I'm probably going to put both of these in my eBay store. But this sounds really interesting. Let me read you just a tiny bit of the back. This is the story of 5 Harvard men, the women they loved, and the elegant car that came to symbolize their romantic youth. It's also the story of their coming of age in the dark days of World War II, and of their unshakable loyalty to a lost dream of Camelot, of grace and style in the decades that followed. The Last Convertible is a gripping tribute to a way of living that immortalized the greatest generation. So it is set before and during World War II. So it's about these young men and women and this 1939 Packard that is kind of central to all of their storylines. So he said it was very good. And I just looked it up today and realized that there is a movie adaptation of it. It was a 3-part miniseries, and it starred several people that I recognize. It came out in 1979. It was probably a TV miniseries. So anyway, if you don't have time to read the book, maybe you can find the miniseries. I'm definitely going to look it up because my husband would probably enjoy watching it. So anyway, I've got 2 copies of this now. Probably going to put it on eBay. There are several copies that have sold recently, so there's a good shot that that this would sell, and it's in good condition. Not really sure why it was at the liquidation store, except that it's just older. So anyway, I doubt I'll read it myself, but I'm willing to watch the movie. So I just like to share with you sometimes what the rest of my family is reading. Oh, before I go, I said I would share with you which Christmas books counted for which prompts for Mitzi's Very Vintage Christmas Readathon. So for Old Fashioned Christmas, her first prompt, I was going to read a book of short stories. I'm reading that one right now in January, but I didn't get a chance to start it. So I am counting this book for Old Fashioned. And then the second prompt was A Christmas Carol, and it was to read a book with a musical element. So I decided to count my year-round Christmas mystery for that, because if you think about it, all of the titles are parodies of titles or phrases from Christmas songs. So I decided to count A Sleigh Ride Together with You for that prompt. And then prompt 3 was Nutcracker, which I already mentioned. I read Mary Engelbright's Nutcracker. Then the next one was Christmas Wedding, and you were to read a book with a wedding or a romantic theme. So this is not vintage, but I decided I would count A Claus in Christmas because this definitely had a romantic element. And then gift giving, the prompt was to read a book that had gifts on the cover. So I am counting Catching Christmas by Terry Blackstock for that. The next one was Jolly Old St. Nicholas. The prompt was to read something about Santa. So I am counting Miracle on 34th Street for that prompt. Number 7 was Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus, and the prompt was to read an epistolary novel. So I counted Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. And then the last one was to watch a movie. It was the prompt was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and she wanted you to watch a Christmas movie. So we watched the original version of A Miracle on 34th Street, and I also watched half of the newer version of Miracle on 34th Street. And also for the first time, I watched in its entirety It's a Wonderful Life. I know y'all don't shoot rubber bands at the screen. I had never seen the entire It's a Wonderful Life. I know, where have I been? So this Christmas, I upped my game and I watched some traditional Christmas movies. Now, lest you think I don't watch any traditional Christmas movies, White Christmas is my all-time favorite Christmas movie. And we did watch that one while we were working a puzzle with my daughter and my husband. So we enjoyed that one. But I just never seen It's a Wonderful Life or Miracle on 34th Street. Now I have, so yay! So that is everything I want to share with you in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to be back soon with some goals for 2025. Also, what series I plan to read for the Serious About Series Challenge in 2025. And lots more. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.